God
The
of our
night
land.
Chief Adegun died,
I am
the moon
innocent.
did not
Please
hide.
speak for me.
It hung over the red earth of Okiodo like an unblinking eye, pale and merciless, spilling silver light over the courtyard where his body lay twisted beside the ancient Iroko tree. The drums that had beaten for harvest earlier that evening were now silent. Even the crickets, whose songs usually stitched the night together, seemed to have swallowed their own music. And in the center of that dreadful silence stood his wife. Her wrapper was stained, not with blood, but with palm oil from the evening meal she had prepared. Yet, the women who gathered at the edge of the courtyard whispered as though her hands dripped red. Her name was Abeni, and before the cock crowed at dawn, that name would carry the weight of murder. "She killed him," someone muttered. And like dry grass catching the first spark, the rumor spread. By sunrise, it was no longer a whisper. It was a verdict. Abeni had been born beneath the sound of talking drums. She was a daughter of the Yoruba land, her people known for their proverbs as sharp as the hunter's arrow and as wise as the baobab that remembers the stories of centuries. She was not a woman fashioned from weakness, tall and slender, with smooth dark skin that gleamed like polished ebony under sunlight. Her eyes held depth, the kind elders say can see both the shadow and the light inside a person. Her cheekbones were high, and her lips full, often pressed tight when thinking, because Abeni was not quick to speak. Her silence had always unsettled some. Her husband, Chief Adegun Alade, was a large man, broad-chested, with a beard thick as the forest and a voice that carried across the marketplace. He wore embroidered agbada of deep indigo and crimson, symbols of wealth and lineage. He laughed loudly, he commanded easily, and he feared one thing alone: prophecy. Years before that terrible night, on their wedding day beneath palm fronds and dancing kola nuts, an elder priestess had stepped forward uninvited. She was Mama Ifarutimi, known for speaking truths no one dared ask for. Her voice cracked like dry wood as she spoke. The river that quenches your thirst may one day drown you. The words fell into the dust between them. Some laughed nervously, others looked away. But Adegun had not laughed, and neither had Abeni. Marriage in Okeodo was not merely between two hearts. It was between families, between ancestors, between spirits unseen and seen. The town gathered for their union in a wide clearing near the sacred grove. Women wore wrappers of asoki, bright with gold thread. Men stood proud in embroidered agbada and fila caps. Drums rolled like thunder across the sky. Abeni had been radiant that day, wrapped in coral beads and saffron cloth, her hair woven intricately with cowrie shells. She loved Adegun with the innocence of a woman who believed strength meant safety. But love does not always see what shadow hides. The first conflict came 2 years into their marriage. Abeni had not conceived. Whispers began gently, like wind rustling through maize. Then they sharpened. A household without a child, the elder women murmured, is like a drum without skin. Adegun's mother, Iya Alade, was a woman carved from stone and pride. Her cheeks were hollow with age, but her eyes burned bright with expectation. "My son is not barren," she declared publicly. "When the tree bears no fruit, one must examine the soil." And so Abeni was taken to the shrine of Urumila, forced to drink bitter concoctions, to kneel through nights of prayer, to endure rituals meant to awaken a reluctant womb. She obeyed. because in her heart she feared the prophecy, because sometimes love bows to silence. Yet something deeper stirred beneath the surface of Okiodo. Adegun's younger brother Kolade watched everything. Kolade was lean where Adegun was stout. His beauty was quieter, like the panther that moves without stirring leaves. His gaze lingered too long on Abeni during family gatherings, and his smile carried meanings that slithered beneath words. He had always stood in Adegun's shadow, and shadows grew restless. On the day of the harvest festival, tension clung to the air like humidity before a storm. Villagers gathered under canopies of woven palm leaves. Calabashes of palm wine passed from hand to hand. Children ran barefoot, their laughter rising like birds into the dusk. Abeni had felt uneasy all day. Chief Adegun had drank more than usual, boasting loudly of lineage and power. Kolade had approached her near the cooking fires. "You deserve more than suspicion," he murmured softly. Abeni stepped back. "Mind your tongue." His eyes darkened. In every compound, there is a snake. Some hide in plain sight. The drums grew louder. The sun dipped, and the prophecies stirred. Later that night, when the moon rose full and round, casting pale light across the compound, Abeni heard shouting from the courtyard. She rushed outside. Adegun and Kolade were arguing, voices like clashing machetes. "You think I do not see your hunger?" Adegun roared. "And you think your crown sits firmly?" Kolade shot back. The words sliced deeper than steel. Villagers lingered at the edge of the compound walls, pretending not to listen. Abeni stepped between them. Then it happened. Adegun staggered backward. His hands clutched his chest. He gasped. His large body trembled as though struck by invisible lightning. And before Abeni could steady him, before Kolade could reach him, the chief of Okiodo fell. Now, standing over his lifeless form, Abeni saw horror ripple through the gathered faces. Kolade was the first to speak. She was the last to touch him. The words fell heavy as iron. It was not truth, but it was enough. The second conflict began at dawn. The council of elders gathered beneath the Iroko tree. Grey-bearded men wrapped in white sat in solemn semicircle. The air smelt of earth and burning incense. Drums did not play that morning. Abeni knelt in the center. No tears fell from her eyes. Grief had frozen into something harder. Kolade stood tall beside her mother. "She poisoned him," Iyalade declared. "My son ate from her hands." Abeni lifted her gaze slowly. He drank palm wine. He argued with rage. His heart pounded before the fall. "Are you a healer now?" one elder sneered. She swallowed her anger. "I know what I saw. But knowing is not proving, and proving is not surviving." Then came the shocking revelation. The village diviner Baba Arulogun stepped forward. He was ancient, skin wrinkled like dried bark, eyes clouded yet piercing. He cast cowries into a circle drawn with chalk. The shells danced, fell, arranged themselves in sacred pattern. Silence tightened. "The spirits speak," he whispered. "They say betrayal killed the chief." A murmur rippled. "Whose betrayal?" someone asked. Baba Arirogun's gaze shifted slowly across faces. His eyes paused, not on Abeni, on Kolade. But fear flickered through the old man's pupils, and he lowered his head. "The spirits are unclear." The air changed. Unclear spirits meant danger, and danger seeks sacrifice. 3 days passed with Abeni confined in a hut at the edge of the compound. Women came to stare. Some spat before leaving. Others wept silently for her. At night, she pressed her palms against her chest and whispered into darkness. If I carry guilt, may thunder strike me. If I carry truth, may the ancestors defend me. On the fourth night, something happened. Abeni dreamed. She stood in the sacred grove, moonlight silver on leaves. Chief Adigun stood before her, not as he had died, but calm, dressed in white. "You did not kill me," he said softly. "Who did?" she cried. He looked toward the trees, and as he stepped back into shadow, a snake slithered across his chest. She awoke with a scream. The third major conflict came as the elders announced trial by ordeal. They said, if the river claims innocence, she will live. If the river rejected her, the crocodiles would finish what accusation began. On the morning of judgment, the sky was heavy with clouds. Women gathered in muted wrappers. Drums beat slow and low, like a heart unsure whether to continue beating. Abeni walked barefoot toward the riverbank, wrists bound loosely before her. She wore simple white cloth, no beads, no adornment. Her hair hung free down her back like grief unbraided. Kolade watched from behind Iya Alade. His face showed no guilt, only anticipation. As she stepped into the river, cold water rising around her waist, she whispered a proverb her grandmother once told her. The lie may travel for 20 years, but truth will overtake it in one day. Then she plunged beneath the surface. The village held its breath. Moments stretched long as famine. Then, Abeni arose, alive. The river had not taken her. But the elders did not rejoice. Because in Okeodo, power protects itself. And Kolade now stood poised to inherit the title of chief. That night, as thunder growled across the sky, Baba Arulogun came secretly to Abeni's hut. His voice trembled. "I saw it clearly in the shells," he whispered. Kolade mixed ground poison into the palm wine. He knew his brother's heart was weak. The argument was distraction. "Then speak," Abeni urged. The old man's eyes filled with fear. "He has promised me death if I do." Silence fell between them like a drawn blade. Then Abeni stood. If the elder fears speaking truth, then the accused will. Thunder cracked and destiny shifted. The climax unfolded in the marketplace the next morning. Before the entire village, before drummers and traders and elders and children clinging to their mothers' wrappers, Abeni raised her voice. "You accuse me because I am a woman, because I had no child, because silence is easier to bury than truth." She turned toward Kolade. "Swear before Ogun, god of iron, that you did not mix powder into his drink." Kolade stiffened. The crowd parted like startled goats. The shrine of Ogun stood at the edge of market, iron tools embedded in earth, smeared with red camwood. Kolade hesitated, and in that hesitation, the truth began to breathe. Baba Arulogun stepped forward at last. "My silence has shamed me," he cried. "The shells pointed not to her, but to you." Chaos erupted like storm wind. Kolade's face twisted. "You are barren, you are Abeni. He would have replaced you. You think he loved you?" Abeni's heart cracked, but not from guilt, from revelation. The prophecy. The river that quenches your thirst may one day drown you. Kolade had been that river. Brother, family, betrayer. Kolade lunged for a cutlass from the shrine, but before he could strike, lightning split the sky. Rain poured hard and sudden. Villagers scattered. The cutlass slipped from his hand as he stumbled in mud. He ran, not toward redemption, but into the sacred grove. And it is said that once inside, The grove chooses who may live. Kolade did not return. Some say a python still coils there. Some say the earth swallowed him. But Okeodo never saw him again. Abeni did not rejoice. Vindication does not restore a husband. It does not erase grief. It does not silence nights. Yet the elders, humbled, approached her days later. They said, "You have endured what would break many." She looked toward the horizon. "I will not remain where doubt lived in my shadow." And so she left Okeodo, not in shame, but in rebirth. Years later, travelers spoke of a healer in a distant village, a woman clad in white and indigo, who knew the language of herbs and the patience of sorrow. They said she wore no beads of marriage, only cowries of wisdom. They said she taught young girls that a woman's worth is not measured by the fruit of her womb, but by the strength of her spirit. They said when storms gathered, she stood unafraid, because once the river tried to drown her, and she arose. Under moonlight, elders now tell her story by fire. They say, "Beware the shadow of your own house." They say, "Power without justice rots from within." And they ask quietly, when blood stains the earth, do we always question the right hands or only the easiest ones? The moon, they say, still does not hide in Okeodo, and the river still flows, watching, waiting, remembering. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share for more interesting stories like this. Bye.